New Jersey Herald. It's also posted on the township website and its bulletin board in accordance to all provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. Also, there's no new testimony or applications to be heard after 9:30 p.m., and we always adjourn the meetings at 10 p.m. sharp. It's practice of this board to salute the flag. Please rise and join us. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Also like to welcome our new alternate number 2 member, Jennifer Panaha, which was sworn in tonight, and to congratulate Landon Tenieri, that was elevated to alternate 1. Marissa, please call the roll.
John Finkelty.
Present.
Michael Josephic.
Here.
Richard LaRufa.
Here.
Michael Leondi.
Here.
Richard Rohrabacher.
Here.
Mark Scott.
Here.
Lana Tenieri.
Here.
Jennifer Pinaha. Chairman Kenneth Larry.
Here.
Glenn Keynes.
Here. Thank you. And we have some minutes to be approved. First set of minutes are from April 10th, 2024. The chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second, please. Second. Any discussion? Marissa, please call the roll.
John Finkelty.
Present. Yes. Yes.
Michael Josephic.
Yes.
Richard LaRufa.
Yes.
Mark Scott.
Yes.
Lana Tenieri.
Yes.
Chairman Kenneth Larry.
Yes. We also have minutes from May 8, 2024 to be approved. Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
Any discussion? Marissa, please call the roll.
Michael Josephic.
Yes.
Richard LaRufa.
Yes.
Michael Leondi.
Yes.
Mark Scott.
Yes.
Chairman Kenneth Larry.
Yes. We have a few resolutions to be memorialized. The first one is application 4-24, Nancy Noves and Laird Johnson for C variance relief decided on July 10th, 2024. The chair will take a motion.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
Any discussion? Marissa, please call the roll.
I apologize, this is for Nancy Noves.
Excuse me?
Is it Nancy Noves, the resolution? Okay. Richard LaRufa.
Yes.
Michael Leondi.
Yes.
And Chairman Kenneth Larry.
Yes. The next one to be memorialized is Eric Fraser and Ellen Stewart. Application number 9-24 decided on September 11th for C variance relief. The chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
Any discussion? Marissa, please call the roll.
John Finkelty.
Yes.
Michael Josephic.
Yes.
Richard LaRufa.
Yes.
Richard Rohrabacher.
Yes.
Mark Scott.
Yes.
Lana Tenieri.
Yes.
And Chairman Kenneth Larry.
Yes. And the last one is the Richard Allen application 7-23 decided on January 10th for C variance relief. And this is the original resolution rescinded by this current one tonight. And Glenn, could you possibly just update the board on what it actually is,
Sure.
if you don't mind? Because we read it, but it's a little confusing.
Mr. Simmons, in his reports, always recommends that additional rights-of-way are dedicated as part of applications before the board so that you get roads that are conforming to filed maps or whatever. And a lot of times what's happened is the roads were put in and they were only put in at a 33 1/3 or something else. And we didn't get the 50-foot wide right-of-way that you try and get. So routinely, and the applicants don't have to do it, but routinely we request additional right-of-way. Routinely, it isn't a problem. Routinely, David also, if possible, if there's a site triangle on a corner or coming out of something, he'll request site triangle easements. The problem that the Allens ran into was that their bank said, we would like you to do some additional work. We want you to come up with a title report. We want you to go out and do lots of other things that were going to cost lots and lots of money. So counsel for the applicants wrote a letter to, I guess, the governing body originally, right, Dave?
Yes.
And Angela Baccato looked at it. The three of us had a conversation, and we decided that we could accomplish pretty much the same goal without putting these people through enormous hoops and a lot of additional expense by just changing the condition around. The condition still gets the right-of-way remaining open. It's just that it does not go into title to Sparta. It also gets the site triangle easements that David called out. It just doesn't go into title. That resulted in basically, not basically, I don't know why I say that. It resulted in 3 changes to the resolution. And the changes, excuse me, were pretty simple and pretty straightforward. The one is on page 4, where I added a sentence that says, further, the applicant has agreed to ensure areas on the site will remain open and not built upon, which will benefit the surrounding area, and therefore the negative criteria is satisfied, which is really what the goal is when David makes those suggestions. So that was a conclusion. But then what we needed to do was change conditions 2 and 3 in the resolution to allow them to amend the plan to show an additional open space area, but it's not going to be dedicated. It's just going to remain open. That'll be on the plan, and it's the same thing with the site triangle easements. We thought this was a fair, equitable solution to a problem and kind of goes a long way in helping residents of Sparta. So I don't think we discussed it. We didn't argue about it. We just came up with the solution once we put a couple of heads together, right?
Correct.
So that's the change. In my opinion, as your attorney, this didn't require any notice.
That's what I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, it didn't require a notice or a new hearing, because as far as I'm concerned, if you look at the language in the municipal land use law, these are de minimis items that do not trigger any public comment, and I think the board can actually do this. It's clearly within your jurisdiction, because it doesn't, at the end of the day, it doesn't change anything. You're still getting that open space. It's just Sparta's not getting the land.
All right.
That's as fast as I could summarize it.
Oh, thank you, Glenn. That's
But
a-
are those notations then actually on the site plan, on,
They'll be on the filed map or something.
Filed
and-
map.
And that'll,
It'll be in a revised map.
okay.
and that'll have to pass David's muster, Rich.
All right, thank you. So the chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Can we ask questions?
Okay, yeah.
So the map is going to say that these pieces of land, these parcels are going to be mowed or taken care of so that the site triangle is maintained?
Yes,
Okay. And when you say dedicated, you said they weren't dedicated because they weren't being dedicated to the town.
they will not be
They're
dedicated to the
not
town.
going to be dedicated to town.
That's correct.
So they're going to be owned by the Allens.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And will this have like a easement, or what kind of condition will travel with the land?
It's on a filed map. It'll be called out that they have to keep it open, notorious, and hostile. There will not be an easement as I envision it, Dave, do you?
Pardon me?
I don't envision an easement here.
No.
Just keeping it open, Mark.
Okay, thanks. Just want to understand it. I don't know the
Right,
law.
Mark?
Quite frankly, just between all of us, this is really this is a more consistent way of doing it under the law, because there is case law that says, we'll go into that some other time.
Okay, all right.
Number, did someone make the original motion?
I made the motion.
The original one,
No.
Rich? No, it was second, right?
No. I don't know who made the original motion.
No, just a motion on this. This is
Yeah,
on
No,
your
I'm just saying,
resolution.
on this- on the-
I made the motion.
All right, and the second, please?
Second.
Marissa, please call the roll.
John Finkelty?
Yes.
Michael Joseph?
Yes.
Richard LaRufa?
Yes.
Michael Leondi?
Yes.
Mark Scott?
Yes.
Landon Teneri,
Yes.
Chairman Kenneth Larry?
Yes.
Oh, I wasn't here that night, never mind.
Sorry?
Never mind.
Now, before we start the public hearing, I also serve on the Master Plan Subcommittee for the township. And the subcommittee has just made active the survey. And it's open until November 15th for people to go on to the site and give us their opinions on certain elements in the town, including the viewpoints on what a master plan should look like. And you can access that, just go to the Sparta Township website, and you'll see the links on there. So I appreciate it if people take that into consideration. Now for the public hearing, we have a few applications that are going to be carried to November 13th, I believe. Marissa, is the date in November? Thank you. The first one, application 12-24, Sussex County Charter School Tech for D variance will be carried to November 13th with no further notice required. Then application 24-2395, Corona Realty Corporation for C and D variances. That'll also be carried to November 13th with no further notice required. And the last one, application 13-23, Tor Anderson for D variance will also be carried to November 13th with no further notice required. So the only application we have left here tonight is application 1424, Richard Shenick for C variance relief. And also one note, after the application is heard and completed, I'll open the hearing to the public on comments and questions they may have not here tonight on this application. Okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Daniel Benkendorf from the law firm of Askin and Hooker, representing the applicant tonight, Richard Shenick. I have 3 witnesses here tonight. We might want to just swear them in now and get their names and the spellings of their last names before I proceed with my summarization of the application.
Good idea. So they can come forward, please.
Gentlemen, please all stand up.
Glenn, if you're so kind.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, do you all swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth in the proceedings before the board tonight, so help you God?
I do.
Oh, yeah, I have that down. You put it-
All right, let's start with this side. You can put your hand down. What's your name, sir?
Richard Shinick,
You're the applicant, Richard, right?
yes.
Okay. How about the young guy next to you?
Tyler Vandervalk, V-A-N-D-E-R-V-A-L-K, and civilized engineering.
Tyler? And how about the other?
Michael Yanoso, Y-A-N-O-S-O. I'm the architect.
Okay, let's qualify, let's see, we've qualified the engineer on previous occasions, correct?
I don't think before this board, but many in
No,
the
you look the
surrounding
same in
area.
other towns, buddy. All right, so, but by whom are you employed?
I own civilized engineering.
And what kind of work do they do?
Land development applications from small residential to commercial projects. Licensed as a professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. License is current and in good standing. Bachelor's degree in civil engineering from the New Jersey Institute of Technology.
Okay, and you regularly appear before boards?
Yes, I do.
And you, sir?
I own Okemos Architecture. It's a architect over in White Deer Plaza. We do small, anywhere between small residential additions all the way up to commercial work as well. I'm licensed in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, good standing in New Jersey, and got my bachelor's at NJIT as well.
Is that satisfactory, gentlemen? And lady?
Thank you, Glenn. I apologize. Your name again? I'm always used to seeing Mr.
Okay,
Askin.
Dan Benkendorf.
Beckendorf, you were right. And Dan, after you present your case for your applicant, We'll then open it to our professional and board members for our comments and questions, and then I'll open it to the public after we're finished.
Understood, thank you.
Okay? How can we help you?
All right, so we're here tonight to discuss, you guys can sit down. Yeah.
Oh, and just one thing, it's a Lake Mohawk application. Do you object to any members hearing the application that reside in Lake Mohawk?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. 193 East Shore Trail, Block 3041, Lot 2. It's an 8,752 square foot lot in the R3 single-family residential zone. Presently, there is a single-family, three-bedroom residential home on the lot, and we intend to keep it that way. We're before this board this evening seeking two variances, bulk variance, C variances. One is a side yard setback. 8 feet is required, and 5.9 feet is proposed. I'm gonna explain, but it's essentially a pre-existing non-conforming variance, but I will go through how we were here to this evening. And then additionally, there's an impervious coverage variance requested. 25% is required, and there's 28.9% proposed. Again, I'll explain all of that. So the home itself that sits on this lot was purchased back in 2021. After the purchase, the applicant allowed his daughters to reside there for a short time, maybe about 6 to 9 months. And while they were residing there, they noticed that the home was damp, and when it started to get colder out, it was very difficult to keep warm in the house. They pulled up some of the floorboards to check out the crawl space underneath the house, and upon doing so, they recognized there was no insulation under the home, nor was there a vapor barrier. So they found that they needed to do some renovations on the home. They filed their permits, they started doing renovations, they connected to the natural gas line, they removed an oil tank, although it's still on the property, it has been evacuated. They went through the process of getting a new furnace and things like that. And as they were doing renovations and pulling permits, they started to recognize that the home all the way up needed to be insulated. So if you're looking at the home from the road on the right-hand side, they recognized that when they started to pull down the ceiling, that wasn't insulated properly either. So while they had everything apart, they consulted with an architect, they decided that they would do some renovations to the home, they pulled the permits, and they got the permits, so they started to do the renovations. Unfortunately, the work that they were doing on the second floor of the home increased the height of one of the walls, which resulted in a new need for a side yard setback variance. Because of that, they enlisted the help of Tyler Vandervalk, an engineer, because they needed an engineer to come and provide the testimony to meet the standards for variance requirements, even though the home, essentially the side yard setback didn't change from what was there. Because they were extending the wall up and building something new, they needed to come back before the board for the C variance for the second floor wall now because it was being extended a little bit. So as a result, they enlisted the help of Tyler Vandervalk. Tyler Vandervalk started doing the calculations and recognized that in addition to the side yard setback variance that was required, there was a miscalculation in impervious coverage for the renovations that were done to the home. And so now we're here requesting two bulk variances, one for side yard setback and one for impervious coverage. And here to discuss the standards required to warrant the variance relief that we're seeking is Tyler Vandervalk. Now, before I get to Tyler, Richard, you've heard my summarization of the application. Is that an accurate representation? And do you want that to be your testimony this evening?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Tyler, if you'll come up.
Tyler and Dan, let's keep this simple and straightforward. Did you hear the proffers that Dan just made, buddy?
Yes, I did.
Did he screw up at all?
No.
So he hit all the central points, right?
Yes.
All right, so that was as if you were testifying, correct?
Okay.
All right. What else you got?
Okay, so, yeah, obviously, the history has just been laid out, so we're not gonna bother to go back through that. As you know, we are in the Lake Mohawk area. As far as the existing conditions on the plan that was submitted, and that's what I have on the board here, this is August 13 of this year, prepared by my office.
That's the plan that was submitted as part of the application, is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
So what you can see is that the footprint of the building that is unshaded, that was what previously existed before any of the renovations began. And on the right-hand side, which is the westerly side, you can see a setback of 5.9 feet existed previously, and that's the variance that's being requested today for the vertical expansion. The area that's shaded on the easterly side or the left-hand side of the building, that is the addition, which was approved by permit as part of the renovations previously. And that actually, if you went to the site, see, is largely actually constructed at this time. And the survey utilized to prepare this map is actually an as-built survey of those conditions. So we know that that's exactly where that addition takes place. There are a number of other improvements, such as the deck has not been constructed yet, and the driveway has not been finalized. So as was mentioned, when we started doing the calculations, it was noted that we had an existing non-conforming coverage, impervious coverage. You can see that in our bulk table at 26.5%, where 25% is permitted. So already in the, and I should say pre-existing condition, this is before the addition was constructed, it was already over by 1.5%. And by nature of doing the addition, that further put us over on the impervious coverage. Now, we've done a number of things to try to mitigate that. There was previously a concrete pad along the entire westerly side. That's the side that's closest to the property line, 5.9 feet. And the applicant has agreed we're going to remove that entire concrete pad in order to further reduce impervious. That's the area where the oil tank was previously located. The other thing that we're going to do is, while the intent was initially to pull additional driveway space alongside the garage addition for additional parking, we're going to limit it to the front of the garage wall, again, to try to cut back on the impervious. So we feel we've done what we can as far as removal of impervious coverage on the property in order to get back down. And this is where we find ourselves at 28.9%, where 25% is required. I would point out one thing that was mentioned in the opening was the lot area of 8,752. That's actually the lot area within the first 100 feet of the lot, which is regulated by the zoning. The total lot area is actually close to 11,000 square feet, 10,908, and that's what's used to determine the percent coverage, although that area is not regulated, only the area within the first 100. The other items as far as lot geometry are all compliant for the zone with room to spare, and all the setbacks other than that westerly setback are conforming as well. As far as the variances, again, the side yard, this is an existing footprint. We're not decreasing that setback. It's at 5.9 today. It will continue to be so. You'll see in the architect's drawings that the roof line of the original home essentially connects almost to the start of that second floor. So it's not a lot of headspace in there. So the idea was we're already having to take down these walls to do insulation, and there was rot discovered, et cetera. If we're rebuilding it anyway, let's try to give ourselves a little bit more headroom in that space. And also the architect will testify how that this brings some good symmetry to the structure with the addition that's being done on the left-hand side. So we feel like this is an improvement aesthetically. It maintains the same setback to the property line, although there's a vertical increase. And the other thing I would say that the zoning envisions two 8-foot side yard setbacks, between you and your neighbor for a total of 16 feet. You'll see that we've approximately located the house on the drawing to the west at about 15 feet, plus our 5.9, so we're over 20 feet between the two houses. So that envisioned separation is still being maintained despite the encroachment. As far as the coverage, as I said, we were removing where we could. Unfortunately, the addition was already built under a prior permit, and that's really the source of the extra coverage from the pre-existing condition. And that's really the extent of my testimony, unless there's any more interest in detail. We have public utility other than the septic system, which was built a few years ago. This bedroom count is unchanged by this application.
Do you see any other negative impacts as a result of the impervious coverage overage?
I don't believe so. We're only increasing by a couple hundred square feet overall on the site. And there are a number of catch basins directly in front of the property where all the runoff runs to. So I don't anticipate any negative impact.
Okay, and essentially, the fact that the side yard setback, we believe it to be de minimis because of the fact that it already existed under the current circumstances. Prior to any work being done to the house, it was exactly the same.
That's correct.
Okay. No further questions for my witness?
All right, thank you. Will, if we have any comments or questions after you're through with the application.
Yep.
Next gentleman?
Okay.
Actually, if I could ask him just one question.
Sure.
Did you see Dave Simmons' report?
I did
You didn't have any,
not.
you did not? Okay, we'll deal with that later then.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. So Mike, you want to come up?
That's yours. Mine's underneath here. I've got Siemens report on there, I'll get you these.
Michael, these were not submitted as part of the application, is that correct?
The floor plans, no. Well, yes, the floor plans have remained the same. I just added pictures next to them.
All right, so
So
Dan,
I'm gonna
we're going to
mark-
mark each sheet,
Yep.
A1, 2, 3, and 4, just for identification, okay?
I think we might only need A1, to be honest with you. Is this the second floor?
That's the first floor, so.
If the board wants to see them, that's fine. The questions I have were primarily related. Oh, yeah, you know what? We're gonna have to do at least A1 and A2.
So how are you going to identify A1, buddy?
Mike, what is A1?
A1 is the second floor plan with, say, some interior images of that, renderings of that.
What's the date of it?
The date would be,
All right, so we're gonna date that today.
yep,
Um,
yeah, because I made it.
It's okay. It's the 9th, so it's 10, 9, 24. And did you these are your renderings?
Correct.
Okay.
And you took the pictures?
Those are rendered, yeah, the computer-generated
Generate.
pictures.
And what other exhibit you going to mark? Let's mark them both at the
It's,
same time. then.
Computer rendering of the exterior of the house.
That'll be A2?
Yep. A2, same
Yep,
date.
same date?
Thank you.
All right. Mike, you heard Tyler discuss the purpose for increasing the height on the right side of the home for the purposes of symmetry. Can you explain that?
Yes, so originally the house on the right side had a very, very shallow loft space. So you could stand up maybe in the center of the roof, but it dropped off very quickly on either side because there was no vertical wall. The space that we're proposing to increase is on the right side of the house. So if you look at the images here, we can see that the sides are essentially mirrored, so it creates nice visual symmetry on both sides, something akin to maybe the Lake Mohawk Country Club, that symmetry that resonates throughout the lake. Some of the issues that caused this to happen was the rotting and no insulation and just bad state of the roof. Once that was discovered, we looked at creating a more visually pleasing and usable space in that area. A lot of the rot and I guess bad condition of the roof was caused by there was 4 very, very close and small dormers together, no insulation, so a lot of the heat was just melting and causing snow and ice to kind of penetrate that area.
Okay, great. And what happened with the impervious calculation? Do you know why there was a miscalculation, or was it just an oversight?
I believe it was an oversight, as far as my original drawings had an error on it, and then that got carried through. And then upon, reviewing it with Tyler, we found that, we saw that and we brought it forward to make sure that we were up to board on that.
And covering it through variance relief, correct?
Correct,
If the board
yeah.
looks kindly upon the application. Okay, excellent. All right, and can you show the board the second floor of the home, just so that they have an idea of what the layout is, so when you come up the stairs?
Yep, so as you come up the stairs, they're in the same area that they are now, or originally were. This area all existed on that side. We're just simply increasing the space that it's usable. You'll be able to see in this image, now that you have a full height, this loft area is now able to be used. As you come around to the new addition of the house, and looking back, we also have an image where you can see more of the loft space. We have the image here where you can either access the master bedroom through a hall with closets off of it, or you can also gain access through the bathroom where it's a Jack and Jill, because the second bedroom is located upstairs as well.
Okay, and what are the total number of bedrooms in the home?
The total number is or three, sorry, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Two
Three bedrooms?
two upstairs, one downstairs.
Okay, and that's how many bedrooms were in the home prior to any of the renovations being completed?
Correct, it was a 3-bedroom home.
Okay, all right. No further questions for this witness?
Right. Thank you. Is that it for your testimony? And
It is.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
David, if you're so kind to go over your report now.
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. Referring to the report I prepared on this application dated August 26, 2004, basically on page 1, we summarized what the applicant's professionals just summarized the application as. On page 2, we've got the zoning table, and as pointed out, we've got the right side yard setback of 5.9 feet, proposed 8 feet required minimum, and 28.9% impervious for the whole lot, 25% maximum. On page 3, with regards to the variance plan, I indicated plans to note any new HVAC systems proposed that are exterior to the dwelling. Any?
No, but they will be if they're not.
Okay. Number 2, or item B, I'm sorry, I note a small portion of a concrete pad on adjacent Lot 1 encroaches onto the subject property by about 1.3 feet. That was shown on the survey prepared by Christopher Lanteman. And it basically is an encroachment from the neighbor onto the subject property. It's in the back corner. I just noted that. And then I pointed out the areas of the gravel driveway that will not be paved should be topsoiled, seeded, fertilized, and mulched to return to lawn area. Again, I pointed that out because based on the impervious coverage, just so we know once the driveway is fully paved, the limits will go back to grass and impervious, or pervious rather. With regards to utilities, again, this particular lot is connected to the township's water system, so there's no well to be concerned about on this lot. With regards to the septic system, I agree with what the applicants testified as, that there's 3-bedroom dwelling. It's a 3-bedroom dwelling afterwards, and the 3-bedroom is the key component to discussing what the size of the septic system would have to be. And it's served with aerial utilities off the pole on East Shore Trail. Item number 6, with regards to storm drainage, the township does have their ordinance number 21-02 that basically says if there's an increase of more than 500 square feet of impervious, that in fact they have to provide mitigation. I do have an error to correct in this report. On the second paragraph in item number 6, it should say the proposed plan increases the overall net impervious coverage of the new dwelling by approximately 381 square feet. Therefore, stormwater mitigation is not required. In other words, that's under 500 square feet as it is. And overall, when you take into consideration, as the applicants indicated, the removal of the concrete, there's an overall net increase of 150 square feet. I agree with the 28.9% calculation. We talked about with the architectural plans if there's any HVAC systems still to show. And we confirmed once again that 3 bedrooms exist. 3 bedrooms are proposed when the renovations are done. There wasn't a separate environmental impact statement provided for this particular application. I didn't note anything of wetlands or anything of significance that would warrant that, in my opinion. And under item number 9, I have the standard recommendations for confirming approval by the Health Department, the construction official, the Water Department, to make sure there's nothing changing on the water service, and also the county as far as their access drive, which is proposed to remain as is. And I agree that, with Mr. Vandervalk, that in fact there are inlets down in the county right away on East Shore Trail where water coming off that driveway can get to those inlets and be conveyed to the county's drainage system. And finally, I would recommend, as I usually do, that an as-built plan be prepared by the applicant's land surveyor, just to make sure any variance relief that the board grants is in fact adhered to and complied with. That's it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, David. Marissa, could you call on each board member for their comments and questions, please?
John Pinkeldy,
No comment.
Michael Joseph,
No comments.
Oh, excuse me, Mike, would you like to bring up the Lake Mohawk situation to both Glenn and
Oh, yeah.
public?
Yeah, so we are in, I guess, a receipt of a letter, email, on behalf of Lake Mohawk Country Club asking that, any approval of the application tonight be conditioned on the applicant obtaining necessary approval and/or waivers from the Lake Mohawk Country Club. So I'm questioning why, I guess, first off, the legality behind that, right? Because, it's not isn't that a private kind of organization or?
Is the letter from Lake Mohawk, or is it from an attorney?
Yeah, that's-
Yes. So,
It's from Lake Mohawk.
it's not from the Lake Mohawk attorney, is it?
Mohawk
It's,
attorney.
He's their attorney.
he's their attorney? Okay, I
Yeah.
read the letter, I didn't realize that, so.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to understand that. First off, shouldn't it be that, why would we impose a condition to, make that, first off, why would we make that a condition if Lake Mohawk's like a HOA, private entity?
Well, I
Is
have
it
been-
just be the goodness out of our
Since my
hearts?
return to you, I have been confused by that. What's Lake Mohawk got to do with this, David, other than the fact that it's in the reservation?
My understanding is that Lake Mohawk may have some of their own bylaws and standards that they have, and they want to make sure that the application complies with those standards that are set up by their organization. I know we've had other applications, and usually what happens, by the time the applicant gets the application before this board, they usually, as part of their application package, have a letter signed by their engineer,
Right.
Sabine Watson, and you've seen that
Yeah.
basically, we don't object to this, it agrees with our standards, and away you go. This particular application didn't have that, so my assumption is that's why Mr. Dash, the attorney for the Lake Mohawk Country Club, wrote that letter to ask that that be a condition.
Dan, you do a lot of work in the Lake Mohawk Preserve.
I do. I've also had questions with these letters that come from Lake Mohawk. I understand that Lake Mohawk Country Club might have a say in whether or not you're permitted to access the things that Lake Mohawk Country Club provides if they don't get approval through Lake Mohawk Country Club. But I have to be honest that I also understand their position because I live on a smaller lake, Lake Owassa, and we also have been communicating with the local board regarding seeing if we can make it a condition of approval that they get approval from the local
Okay.
zoning board. So my point is this. This is something that's started to come up over the course of the last couple of years, and we've encountered it, and generally it's not conditioned on their approval. But if my client wants to be able to use the Lake Mohawk, they're going to have to get their own approval. So I don't think it should be a condition of approval. But
I think this one goes beyond that, though, and I think you're asking the right question. This has nothing
right.
to do with Lake Mohawk. There are applications that you sometimes have that you can see that it's going to put water into the lake, whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any difference. This one is just pure land use 101, and I'd hate to hold your clients up, although he's either want us to say something or he's got to go to the restroom, I'm not sure.
Come forward.
Say something. I have an approval letter from that group.
That's what I was gonna.
Dan, we're done. Just submit that as part of the, that answers it, but I think,
But, yeah, but
Your
it's more of a
question is right.
broader question for future. Right.
I think if they're not affecting the lake, and they're not impacting it with drainage or other things that David would pick up, and he's actually doing the review, and when you guys go out and do a site, do a site inspection, I don't quite get that, and they shouldn't be held up for
Okay.
doing
Yeah,
something. But Dan, just submit it to me.
Okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure we did submit it, but it goes back to April. It was April 11th of 2023.
Education
As long as it's this decade.
Yeah.
All right, Michael? Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Marissa.
Wait, I respectfully disagree here.
No, we'll get to you, Mark. We're just going down each person, and you can follow up
Okay.
with, okay? Go ahead, Ms. Marissa.
Richard LaRufa.
Yeah, just to complete the record, the architectural drawings we had, the plans, and the site plans and everything that you presented tonight, these were all part of a previous application for a building permit that was approved.
There were multiple levels of permits.
Okay, and you received the permits based on these architectural drawings?
Did, yes.
And these site plans? And how long ago was that? Are we talking,
It was,
got to be a year.
no, it was within, I mean, because this house has been kind of under construction
know.
for quite some time. I mean, you passed it a year ago, 2 years
Right.
ago. But essentially, they started doing work on it back after they purchased it 2021. So it's been under construction, and they've been receiving permits slowly as they have, the ability to work on the property since 2021.
Okay.
So I can't give you exact dates of the permits, but.
Okay, but these are the drawings, and the work that's been done to date has all been done in accordance with the permits that have been approved and are in effect.
Until they started work on that second level, and it was determined that we needed the variance relief on that second level, because it was new construction, and so therefore the pre-existing, non-conforming side yard setback needed to be reaffirmed through the board. And it was at that time that they got the engineer involved, who determined that they were also over an impervious coverage.
But that was already shown on the
Yes.
plans.
Correct, they were already
these
got
are-
the permits and approvals for that.
Yes, that's what I want, I just want that
Yes.
for the record. And that was, you're
Confirmed.
saying how long ago that was approximately?
Yeah,
And yet-
About a year ago.
about a year
Okay.
ago.
Okay, so it's been around for a while, and it's not something that's just come up and cropped up out of the dirt. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Michael Leondi.
No questions, thanks.
Richard Rohrbacher.
No questions at this time.
Mark Scott.
Sure. Hi. You're saying that you, I'm unclear on this Lake Mohawk issue.
Sure.
All right. It's their HOA. This home is within the HOA of Lake Mohawk. They're asking that this approval be conditioned upon their approval, right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
I haven't seen the letter, though, just so you know, that they recently got. That was news to me.
That's
when I
like
walked through
today's letter, right? That was emailed to us, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
when I walked through the door this evening, honestly, Mr. Simmons told me about this letter.
Okay.
So I haven't even had a chance.
No,
to-
I understand. It's dated October 4th, so it's just a
Yeah,
few days old.
right.
Okay.
Can somebody
So,
give Mr.
so,
the plaintiff, the applicant's lawyer a copy of this letter?
I'll get you.
I don't
Right here.
have my,
Thank you.
my copy.
Thank you. Okay.
Just so we can get this duplicated.
Yep. I mean, it's pretty clear what they're asking for,
right,
right?
right.
Sure. I understand.
Okay. That's,
I-
I
I'm
mean,
happy to
I'm fine
speak-
with, everything
happy
else.
to
I just think that, they asked for that. It's their reservation, their property, they're the, that we respect and grant them this condition that they have, that the applicant has to go and get this approval from Lake Mohawk.
Understood.
Okay.
Yep.
Then,
He has it.
What's in the letter that Lake Mohawk sent? What's it say, Dan?
Yep. So, this letter says that it does not preclude any permitting required by Sparta Township. That's the end of the letter. It goes through what the application is for, and it says it does not preclude any permitting required by Sparta Township.
What's that got to do with Lake Mohawk?
what does that mean, Glenn?
I was asking
It's
you
from-
guys.
Oh,
It's from Lake Mohawk Country Club, saying that they've reviewed the application and it precludes, it does not preclude any permitting required by Sparta Township.
Does not preclude. I don't know what that means.
Preclude, did they need all?
You need an English teacher here.
So basically, they're,
You're reading the letter that you got from Lake Mohawk previously. You're not reading the attorney's letter.
It's from April 11th, 2024.
Yeah, this is the original, this is the letter he's saying they got approving the plans from Lake Mohawk, saying doesn't preclude you have to get all the permits you're required to get.
Right.
From Sparta.
From Sparta, that's all it's saying.
So they're just saying,
That's-
we're gone.
We're
out-
gone.
We're out of it. You go and visit the gang at night.
Yeah, it
Right?
goes on to say that both the roof height increase and deck are conforming to the club plan agreement and approved by this office. I guess I should have started
There we
there.
go.
I apologize.
That's helpful.
All right.
So perhaps they just didn't have
So
a record of,
maybe their experts didn't talk.
right.
So, I mean,
Who
I can.
signed that letter?
Excuse me?
Who signed that letter?
Sabine Watson.
Okay, she's the engineer.
Yep, she's the Lake Mohawk Country Club engineer.
Okay.
Okay, Mark? Okay, any other questions?
My questions are just, my comment is that we should respect what Lake Mohawk is saying, and they want the last right of refusal, it sounds like, right? Am I correct on that? Do we have the right to trump that?
Excuse me, Glenn?
I'm sorry. I
respond
was
to
talking
Mr.
to our newest member.
Could you respond to Mr. Scott?
No, I don't know what he said.
Okay,
Mark, what?
so Lake Mohawk issued this letter
Yes, sir.
today or 3 days ago, and they said, we'd like one more look at this. We would like the final approval on it. That's what they're saying, correct?
I don't think so. I didn't understand that to be said. Dan? You
No.
got the letter in front of you.
The letter,
Letter.
we're talking about the letter
If
that
you
was
don't mind.
originally sent April 11th, or the new letter?
The new letter.
New letter.
The new letter.
The new letter.
I think they're asking that any approval be conditioned upon their review and approval, but it looks like we already have their approval based on the letter that I have. So even if you did condition it upon their approval, we already got it.
So the left hand wasn't talking to
Yeah,
the right?
Right.
just a
There we go.
miscommunication.
That's all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, let's hit it.
All right.
But it is something we normally ask during the course of the hearing when an application comes before us, and we usually either get a report from Sabine Watson or, a letter saying that they've reviewed it and have no objection. So, and they already have that. It's just a question of, it's already done.
Right.
We respect it, and we always ask them for that on every application within the lake.
Quite frankly,
Correct.
not to puff him up a little bit, but council is right there in Lake Mohawk. His office probably does more work in and around the lake than anybody. So these guys, between Bill and Todd and Dan, they know what's going on, so if there's any problem. But
Again, I
Mohawk's
really-
there's always been some issues, as
We know
as a
that.
couple of you know,
Yes.
over the past.
25 years. 40. All right. yeah. All right, Marissa, you could continue, please.
Lana Teneri,
I have no questions.
Jennifer Panaha,
No questions.
Chairman Cathalaris.
No questions. All right, thank you. I'll now open the hearing to the public. If anyone is in the public and has questions or comments on this application, please come forward. Come forward.
What are we just gonna say? We're just gonna fuck you.
Yes, to the microphone, please. Just give your name and address to the secretary.
How's it going, everybody?
everybody. My name's Ryan Schreck, and I'm a resident at 189 East Shore Trail next door.
Glenn, would you like to swear him in?
Brian, raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth in the proceedings before the board tonight, so help you God?
I do.
Shrek is,
S-C-H-R-E-C-K.
I know that guy.
Kind of like the movie.
Never heard that.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Richard, first of all, nice and formally meet you. Sorry to hear about the unpleasantries with the construction. I guess the one concern that I do have is with regard to a retaining rock wall that I believe is on my property. I think that over the course of the construction, that has caused the wall to fall into a state of disrepair. So my one concern is, if we can ensure that by the end of the construction efforts, I understand it's going to be a long time and, you got to do some repaving. But if we could get that repaired to its original state to prevent any erosion on my property.
Are you left
The
or,
applicant has no objection to repairing a.
Dan, where is he? Left, right?
Left or right of the house? Left.
I'm on the left side, so it would be this one. I don't know if I'm the.
Lot 3.
There's two here.
Lot 3, thanks, Dave.
So that's kind of what I wanted to compare is the two surveys, but I guess it would be this
You
one?
can speak a little louder, Ryan, into the microphone.
Yep.
We have to have
So
recordings.
I think
for
it would be
thing.
this one, but if you could confirm that it's also, the same one that I'm putting out?
So first this would be like this.
Yep,
Okay.
so you'd be over there.
So this one is.
This is a
actu-
bush, so this would be the wall.
This right here.
Yeah, these are like 3 perennial bushes.
This survey does not show that.
Yeah, and I was wondering if we could compare the surveys to see if there was, anything we needed to reconcile with that.
All right. Yeah.
I tried to go into the
Yeah,
office
no,
to see it,
it's
but,
tough,
yeah.
It's tough, I mean, because my client. So, so the board has an idea. This was what Mr. Vandervalk had addressed before. But there's a retaining wall that exists here and a retaining wall that exists here on, Shrek, is it Shrek?
Yep.
Is it first name or last name?
Last name.
Last name. Mr. Shrek pointed out that one of the 2 retaining walls is starting to deteriorate. My client has no objection to any approval, if the board looks kindly upon his application, fixing the wall that's starting to deteriorate on his property. But if it's determined that the wall that's deteriorating on Mr. Schreck's property is the result of the construction happening on my client's property, he'll also be willing to fix that. But we'll have to look closer at that in order to determine that.
Thank you. Okay, Ryan?
Yep, sounds good. Do we have to do anything about the surveys not matching exactly?
You should talk to your surveyor,
Okay,
and maybe you can call my office tomorrow and we can discuss that.
okay, sounds good.
Anyone else in the audience have any questions or comments in regards to this application? Seeing no one else?
Were there any changes to the plan since the Sabine Watson letter? Have there been 0 changes, or have there been any changes?
That I don't know. I can't answer the question. Mr. Vandervalk, can you answer that question?
I can't answer for the architect. I didn't prepare my plans till after that, so they didn't have a site plan because they were only doing building improvements plus the deck.
It
But
related to.
I think you can speak on your plans.
And just one moment, let me close the hearing to the public and back into the hearing for you and the applicant. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we got approvals from Lake Mohawk after every submission of plans. So this was after the submission, and no changes happened after that approval.
Okay.
So Sabine Watson on April 4th was weighing in on the last version and what's what's being built.
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, if there's no other questions from the board or comments, the chair will entertain a motion approving this application, Richard Senek, for C variance relief.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion to have the board attorney draft a resolution approving application number 14-24 for Richard Shinnick, Block 3041, Lot 2, at 193 East Shore Trail, seeking C variances for impervious coverage of 28.9%, where a maximum of 25% is allowed, Existing non-conforming right side setback of 5.9 feet or 8-foot minimum is required, with a condition of repairing the retaining walls at 189 East Shore Trail that have been or may be displaced during construction in the future, and adherence to all stipulations laid out in Mr. Simmons' report.
Do I have a second, please?
Second.
Any discussion? Marissa, please call the roll.
John Finkelty,
Yes.
Michael Joseph,
Yes.
Richard LaRufa,
Yes.
Michael Leondi,
Yes.
Richard Rawbacker,
Yes.
Mark Scott,
Yes.
and Chairman Kenneth Larry.
Yes. So congratulations, the application's been approved. Would you also like to waive your right to a written?
Yes, please.
The Chair will entertain a motion for that.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
Marissa, please call the roll.
John Finkelty,
Yes.
Michael Joseph,
Yes.
Richard LaRufa,
Yes.
Michael Leondi,
Yes.
Richard Rawbacker,
Yes.
Mark Scott,
Yes.
Chairman Kenneth Larry.
Yes. And good luck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Have a
Thanks,
good
guys.
evening.
And I'll open the hearing now to the public for any questions or comments they may have in regards to issues not discussed here tonight. Seeing no one is now closed to the public, Chair will entertain a motion for
I
adjournment.
make that motion?
Second.
All in favor? All right, thank you all.
Thank you. All right.